Ever feel like you're standing outside the glittering gates of the creative industry? You know, watching everyone else walking in and wondering, how do I even get through those doors? Well, join the club, literally. I am Michelle, and this is the Uninvited Podcast. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the very first conversation of this series, where we enter, we listen, and we begin to unfold what lies beyond the threshold. If I had to describe my guest with just one phrase, I will say that she's an incredible storyteller. But even that feels too small. She has lived many creative lives. Fashion editor, writer, columnist, and now, in a full circle return to her earliest passion, visual artist. She's someone who constantly reinvents herself. And what I love the most about her is her zest for life, her sense of humor, her vulnerability, and a delicious amount of glamour. So let's get past the velvet rope with Stacey Duguid.
As if by magic. Oh, and we have my book here. Like that's a win and a plug. Thank you so much for having me as your first guest. I'm truly honoured. I really am. Thank you.
Thank you for accepting my invitation, Stacey.
I mean, what a glamorous setting.
So you know that I had this idea for a long time, and it's
Yes.
happening. It's happening at the Roses of Elagabalus, and we have a live audience tonight. Do you know why I wanted you to be my first guest?
Of course I do, because when we first met, we met in a bathroom at Fashion Week, and I walked in and I looked at them and I went, "Oh, hello, you look fabulous." And you said, "Where are you going tonight?" And I said, "Oh, we're going to crash the Victoria Beckham party." At the time, I was the editorial director of Harrods, by the way, and crashing a Victoria Beckham party was so not the right thing to do. I had not realised it wasn't just another fashion party. It was, in fact, her friends and family, close friends and family party. So I was like, "Oh, hi, what's your name?" "I'm going to crash the Victoria Beckham party." And lo and behold, you said, "I'm going to crash the party too."
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was so brave. I just remember entering in this restroom. I think it was the Peter Pilotto, which is no longer showing during Fashion Week. And I remember your red hair. I think you were wearing something white. And of course, I knew about that party because it was the best, probably the best, the most exclusive party of Fashion Week, and that was already my plan. So it was quite incredible to kind of like, and by the way, I'm wearing this outfit.
I know.
And that's the outfit I wore when I met Stacey. And
in 2018.
Yeah. Of course,
so
people
cute.
cannot see it, so I will say that it's, how can I describe? It's a suit, a silver suit, not your traditional suit. What was so incredible is the fact that we met at Peter Pilotto, and after 1 hour, we met again at the Victoria Beckham's party, where we were not invited, and we were like, oh my God, you made it. How did you make it? I remember stepping in and walking upstairs, and basically, David was coming downstairs, just
The
very
entire
casual.
Spice Girls
Hi,
were there.
David.
Let me just like the following day, the Instagram was like all of the Spice Girls singing, hanging over the DJ booth, and I was like so hungover, and I had to go to another show or maybe Milan, and I was thinking, oh my God, I crashed the friends and family party. I'm such a loser, because actually, I remember going to the door and the woman said, "I know exactly who you are and you're not on the list." And I was like,
And then, but she let you in. How?
She didn't quite say it so abruptly, but she knew who I was and that I wasn't on the list and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, come on. I was in the middle of a divorce at the time, just to be clear. And the white outfit you described and the red hair, I was probably like this thin because I hadn't eaten for like 10 weeks, but whatever. And I just was like, no, I'm determined. I'm going to this party. And it was the best party ever.
It was really, and I found actually given that I went through my archive, I posted something on TikTok about Victoria, and I found the footage, and I found a video of myself lip syncing to Madonna's Vogue with Alexa Chung dancing in the back. Just casual, just your usual Sunday.
But can I tell you that the most joy I got from that night, and I swear to you, was seeing you had also managed to get through the red rope, like past the red rope, and the fact that we were just like, you made it.
I have to say, I think the outfit helped a lot. The attitude.
Well, there we are. That's how we met.
And also, I have to say that you have always been very supportive of me, especially this year, which has been quite challenging for, many reasons. But so I am so grateful that VB brought us together. Thank you, VB.
You're a good soul. And there aren't many people out there that I connect with like that. And by the way, being a fashion person is overrated, but we'll get onto that.
That was 6 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
You were editorial fashion director at Harrods.
Mm-hmm.
But how did you get into fashion?
How did I get into fashion?
Yeah.
Okay, well, very difficult. It was very difficult. I'm from a northern working class family. I didn't have any connections. But, let's rewind. This was the 1990s where there were different opportunities for young people then. We could sign on the dole, which is what Tracy Emin did and Lee McQueen and all the other people that were in my kind of cohort. We all I didn't sign on because I had a job. But there was a safety net, and there was a kind of like this like abundance of ideas and creativity, and all you did was go out. So when I moved to London from Edinburgh with absolutely nothing, and I took a job in Harvey Nichols part-time, and I had a job working for free in a PR agency where everyone was really vile to me. I emptied bins. I did.
I don't know if things have changed now. Maybe a little bit.
Yeah. It was just unnecessarily rude, and actually, but that provided me with a foundation of, I don't think it's very cool to behave like that, so therefore I will not ever behave like that with my assistants. And I was the fashion editor of ELLE for 13 years, and I never behaved like that to my assistants. But anyway, I got into fashion just by sheer grit and resilience. 3 jobs, I worked in a bar at night, and I worked for free. But then I feel like it was different. It was 1995. Things were different in London. It was like you went out to a nightclub and you met Katie Grand. It was like we all went to the same pub in Shoreditch, the Bricklayers Arms. Is it still there? Like Giles was DJing, Katie Hillier. There's just a whole crew of us. And everybody went on to be the creative director of this and the blah, blah, blah of that. It was less prescriptive and less kind of linear than it is now. Until I got to Harrods, which was 2018, and bearing in mind prior to that, I'd worked for Armani, Prada, ELLE, I didn't have a CV. And Harrods was like, can we have your CV? I was like, oh, shit.
So you're saying that it was easier to meet and engage with
Far
people?
Easier.
Because now, if you think about it, for example, if I want to text Katie Grant, I don't have her number, but I could DM her. If I'm lucky, she might
see it.
Yeah. But of course, I have to be very lucky. While in that case, maybe people, of course, were going out way more.
It's a different time. It's like you can't really kind of equate it to now. Because it was, and actually what kind of depresses me, which is slightly off topic, is that cohort still has a kind of stranglehold on the business, on the creativity, on the art direction, the photography, but, that's a different conversation. But feels like it's really difficult to break in to the business now as a new photographer, a new stylist, a new writer. It's harder because the establishment was really established and they've got a firm kind of, that they've got a firm position in the business that everyone kind of defers to. Like, oh, Glenn Lutchwood shot that. Brilliant, amazing. But there are so many amazing photographers out there.
And working in fashion, was that the plan for you, or it's just like it just happened?
No, it wasn't the plan.
Way?
I went to art school. I did fine art. I wanted to be a painter. I didn't end up in fashion by accident. I really, at the time, fashion really was, it shifted the cultural dial in a way that it was culture. It moved culture. It was part of the kind of cultural consciousness. It was the zeitgeist. It was McQueen. It was just like everything seemed to be in that moment distilled through the catwalk, what was happening, especially in London. A designer called Owen Gasta and, these amazing Antonio Berardi, like these amazing designers were really at their peak in London during that period. And fashion for me was something exciting that, moved the cultural dial in a way that film and art just wasn't. And it was a very, very exciting time. And so I dropped out of art school because I went to the Hacienda, which is a nightclub in Manchester, but that's another story. And I moved to London when I was 20, and I just got a job in Harvey Nichols. And I always loved fashion because as a working class woman, you can put on anything and instantly your armour is changed. Nobody knew I was working class in fashion. Nobody knew. You can have the handbag, you can have the thing, you can dress up, you can put on your armour, and that's what fashion provides people with. Another identity. You can change that identity every single day if you want to. It's up to you. And that's the genius thing about fashion. And that was what drew me to it. And after I did the 3 jobs and this and that, I got a job working for Paul Smith, who is brilliant.
So this is still within PR, right?
I was never in PR, and then I got a job in the head office at Paul Smith, working in PR, which I was so shit at.
Why?
Why? Because I have no filter, and
you have to be quite diplomatic.
It was just the wrong job, but actually it wasn't the wrong job because I got to work for Paul, who's amazing, and I got to meet incredible people, and really it was like, if you can imagine doing a work experience but getting paid for it, badly paid for it, but whatever.
I think you said it's in your book. I think it was around 70K per year.
Are you joking?
No, 17. Sorry, 17.
I was going to say, I don't earn that now. Honestly, babes. I was on 12 grand a year.
Okay. But
no bank of mummy and daddy, having to live with crazy people in Shoreditch, which was a rat-infested, wonderful place.
It's not the fancy East London of.
Anyway, you know what? Doing jobs like that really gave me the kind of, it was the backbone of your education in fashion. And the thing that you don't know when you have those first jobs is that your cohorts in those jobs, they're with you forever. So for the last 30 odd years, the people I met when I was at Paul Smith, whether an editor or whatever, they've gone on to set up magazines and they've gone on to do amazing things. And so that's the thing I wish somebody had told me, that these young people around you will be in your life forever. But that's how I got into fashion, by hook or by crook, by absolute sheer determination.
So
no education, determination.
What will you say was your velvet rope moment when you had the feeling like, oh, now I got past the velvet rope. I made it. I'm inside the club. I'm on the list.
It's a really good question.
Literally, I'm sure that you got past the velvet ropes many times, and we will go back to that later. But also, you have reinvented yourself so many times throughout your career so far, and you will still be doing that. But would you say that, is there any moment that it's more remarkable or it really felt like a turning point for you?
I think my mother calling me from Edinburgh saying, and she's Mancunian, really northern accent, I'm like, Stacey, are you still working at Harvey Nichols? I had a Saturday, Sunday job at Harvey Nichols. I was like, no, Mum, I've left. I've gone to work for Paul Smith. Who? What? You're not working at Harvey Nichols? Like, she would dine out on the idea that I worked at this fancy shop in London. And I think when I went to those early shows with Paul, the menswear shows, which, by the way, were absolutely exquisite. And I remember walking into a hotel, which is very naff now, but it was a hotel that had just opened. And it was called Hotel Cost. And I remember walking in down this dark corridor, if anyone's been there, and it smells of luxury and fabulousness. And I was like, holy shit, like, you're a long way from home, Dorothy. Like, this is wild. And then when I was introduced to the most incredible creative people, that's when I was like, okay, I've arrived. And from here, I know what to do. Because before, 5 years, working in a bar, part-time at Harvey Nichols, scratching around, shitty flats with terrible flatmates who were psychotic. When you arrive at a place and you know you're good at what you're doing, you have to make a decision. You're like, all right, how do I then... Because there was no education for me. There was no, like, parent who'd been... no one has an education at all. But it was something in me. And I was like, all right, Stacey, this is it. This is your chance. Go for it and work hard. Work hard, be nice, be polite, smile, and do everything apart from, to have sex with the boss or anything. And from there on in, I realised I had arrived into this kind of creative world. And I was so happy.
The gate crash. If there is any moment when you had to challenge a gatekeeper, like break a rule, take a risk.
Yeah. So working for Paul Smith for like 2 or 3 years, I was then headhunted to work for Giorgio Armani. I went for my interview with Armani. I was like, oh my God. They had put me on a plane with the person who was in direct competition with me. And I knew, I could just tell. I was like, that person's clearly going to be interviewed for the job that I am. Armani had given us the wrong flights for the wrong, just like, it was like the day after.
So, wait, they did a ticket.
They did the ticket back in the olden days when you used to go like that.
Wait, for an interview?
For an interview.
Wow, you must have been a very good candidate. Or that was the standard back then?
It was the standard back then.
Okay, got it.
It was back in the days.
Forgive me.
1800s. So I arrive at the airport and the tickets are on. And the woman looks at me, oh, it's tomorrow. I glance over and I see this person that I know. And I'm like, I know that person is going to be interviewed for this Armani job. I know it. So I turn to the woman and I say, help me. That person over there is going to get the job because he's a man. If I can just get to Milan, if you could help me, I know that I can just show them that I've got my wits about me. She said, leave it with me. I get on the flight, I get the job. But wait, before that, let's backtrack. I'm wearing like head to toe, I don't know, it wasn't even Zara, like Kukai, whatever it was, just like head to toe black, thinking this is an Armani look. I look Armani. And I'm introduced to Mr. Armani and he walks down the corridor and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in the fucking Starship Enterprise and it's like Darth Vader walking towards me. I'm like, oh my God, what do I say? Like, I don't even speak Italian. And he just looked me up and down and went, see? And he walked off. I was like, what was the bloody question? Hang on.
About your crash moment.
Yeah. So I worked for Paul Smith, then I worked for Armani, and then I got the ultimate job. What is the ultimate job in fashion? Prada. I'm going to answer that for you. It's Prada. And I go to the interview, I get the job, blah, blah, blah. It was nothing as exciting as meeting Mr. Armani and not knowing what to say. I worked for Prada for 3 months, and it was the worst experience of my life.
3 months?
I was the PR director. I was 30.
Wow, that's a very senior role.
I was 30. And all of the other PR directors from around the world, I was London, UK, there was Italy, Spain, blah, blah, blah. I quickly realized that they were, in fact, very wealthy ladies. And they didn't really need to work. And so they sniffed me out. They could tell that I wasn't one of them. Because my husband didn't work. I didn't have a husband. Because, I didn't have a husband in finance, or I wasn't part of this particular set, or I wasn't, a principessa, viscontessa, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I had the most skewed view of what it would be like working for Prada. At the time, I thought, hang on.
Do you think
this
things have changed now?
I don't know. I really don't. But they made my life hell because I wasn't one of them. And so what happened was I'd organised a lunch for the new editor-in-chief of ELLE magazine to have a big lunch with Prada, with me, and my bosses in a restaurant in Milan. I sit next to the editor of ELLE, and she whispers in my ear, "Do you want to come and work for me?" I'm still in my probation period. Hell yes. I'm practically out of the door of Prada.
Just out of the blue.
Out of the blue.
Have you had a conversation with her?
We bonded over going on holiday as children, going on holiday to a caravan. I mean, we bonded. She was like, "It's quite intense, isn't it?" I was like, "Yeah, it's quite intense. It's quite intense." She said, "Are you happy?" I went, "No, I hate it. I hate it." And she said, "Do you want to come work for me?" I said, "Yeah." Had an interview the next week, and she said, "How do you feel about taking a £30,000 pay cut?" That's the reality of working for a brand vis journalism.
Yeah. I don't think things have changed much.
And I said to her, "Let me figure this out." And I just bought a house, cheap little house. I got 2 lodgers in. I quit Prada and I went to work for ELLE. My gate crash moment was that fashion week after I knew I was leaving Prada. I gate crashed the Versace show wearing head to toe Prada. I gate crashed a lot of shows.
I believe you.
And everybody was thinking, like, why is the PR director of Prada UK sitting at the Versace show? And of course, a month later, they figured out that I was the new fashion editor of ELLE. My biggest achievement at ELLE was the fact that I went out a lot. I mean, I went out a lot. I went out all the time. So we're in 2004. I went out all the time. I went to every opening, every gallery, every nightclub, everything. I was there. And my emails to my editor were like, "Dear editor, I'm so sorry I'm late. It's just because," shit, what am I going to say? "I'm still out." And from those emails, which were apparently very funny, she gave me a column on the back page of ELLE called Mademoiselle, Confessions of an ELLE Girl, that ran for 6 years. This is it. And the first meeting that we had, do you want to pass that round like we're at some sort of Tupperware party? The first meeting was like, "Okay, Stacey Duguid, come to my office. Your emails are hilarious. You really get up to all of this stuff." I'm like, "Yeah." And then she said, "Right, but you're not a proper writer and you're not a trained writer. So I'm going to get a trained writer to write your column for you. You give her all of the information." So I gave her all the information. The column comes back. And it's so awful. I've been in Vauxhall with, at a gay club for 3 nights. Like, and this woman's like having a picnic, for fuck's sake. Like, it was the most opposing thing you could imagine. I'm like, "Oh, okay. Doesn't mention fire in here. It just mentions croquet." I'm like, "This, fine." And the editor was like, "Actually, maybe you should write it." And the reason I'm telling you that story is because it was the first time I knew I could write. at the age of 30. And that has changed my life. So gate crashing, the ELLE invitation, like having her come to my Prada lunch, and then kind of gate crashing my way into journalism.
I mean,
and then discovering that I could write.
It sounds like a fairy tale
astonishing.
to me.
It's just
like a
weird.
Contemporary fairy tale.
It's like, you know, these opportunities can happen, but it's...
And when was that?
2004, I went to ELLE. 2006, the column started.
So 2006, so we are around the time when we had the first bloggers.
Oh, no, the bloggers came in 2008. I remember that very clearly.
Okay, why?
Why? Because, you know, we went from, like, having all the, like, you know, Andre Leontelli and everyone in the front row to having Brian Boy. I love Brian Boy. He's my friend. But I was like, who are these people and what are they doing?
And by the way, the column, you were writing as a ghostwriter, right?
Yes. Mademoiselle was the name of the column.
Why ghostwriter?
That's an interesting question. I feel that perhaps, you know, I can't really say what I'm about to say.
Why?
Because there's so much jealousy.
Okay.
You know, oh, she's not a trained writer. Oh, she can't do this.
Well,
and when you believe that, when you believe, like, every single month for 6 years, I'd file that column, and I didn't know if it was going to be continued for the month after. Like, this kind of... The thing is, if you go to these, like, really good schools, you have this innate sense of confidence. If you're working class and you don't go to those schools, you're like, oh, God, this is going to be taken away from me. So I never knew if the column was going to be featured in the next month or not. I had no idea.
Well, it was very successful. So
it was hugely successful. Not everyone liked that.
And also, I feel like when I read the column and read your book, you know, your personality shines through with your words. It's very entertaining. There was no TikTok, and like now, basically, you can be a storyteller. Like, you don't need to have a certificate or a diploma. But yeah, I can imagine that 20 years ago, it was quite different.
It was different. And actually, I always say that I always missed the boat by 10 years. Like, oh my God. Like, for example, lots of the young women and, well, young people who were reading that column ended up being the Instagram stars. So, I mean, I could name them. I'm not going to name them. And they have written to me saying, I read your column. I was 14 years old. I was living in suburbia, and it gave me life. Like, that was the thing I look forward to every month. I'm like, okay, great. And these girls are making millions. Good for them. But I always seem to miss the boat. Never mind.
No, at the same time, I feel like it was very relevant back then.
It was very relevant, and it was very cool. And it was a mask, and it was a kind of fairy tale identity, which is what fashion provides you with.
And then I think for your last one, you reveal your identity.
Well, I was pregnant, so I had to reveal my identity, and I'll never forget. Someone wrote saying, how disappointing.
No.
Yes, of course, because if you imagine with any character that you have in your imagination, it's a figment of your own imagination, right? So Mademoiselle to you or to you or to you could mean anything. To this person, it did not mean Stacey Duguid. She was like, I can't believe it's you. I was like, okay. But I came out as me. I mean, the industry, which I can't bear that expression, but the people working in fashion knew it was me, but the general public didn't. But I still, to this day, get messages about it. It's weird. Because it predated Instagram.
Maybe she should have a comeback at some point.
What, like a menopausal Mademoiselle? Yeah, sure, that's gonna be amazing. Maybe she should.
I think she should.
I don't know. Anyway, but it was an amazing column to write, and it was an incredible opportunity. But actually, the main thing is that I think the main point to take away from this is the fact that these opportunities arise to go and work for somebody, take a huge pay cut, figure out your circumstances, and then discover that, in my case, I could write. And it has provided me with so much richness that is of no monetary value, believe me, but so much like soulful richness that it has nourished me in a way that I can't imagine if I still work for Prada.
So would you not say that at the same time this could be your velvet rope moment, your turning point and gate crash at the same time, because you said that you're not a trained writer, which, by the way, I don't actually know what it means. I'm like, everyone can learn to write.
Well, I think in the old days,
Yeah,
everyone
got
was,
it.
at magazines, it was like whether you went to Oxford or Cambridge and did English. I remember the deputy editor coming over to my desk and saying, "Oh, here's your column. I've changed this and this and this, obviously because you're not a trained writer." And I remember Demi Moore talking about this when she accepted her, what did she get? Did she get a Golden Globe? She got a Golden Globe, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And she described this moment called popcorn moment, right? And she'd had all of the directors and people saying historically like, "Oh, you're good, but you're too this. Oh, you're good, but you're too that." I remember that this was my popcorn moment. Hang on a minute. I have a column on the back page of ELLE magazine. It's been running for 5 years. And you're coming over to my desk with your red pen and telling me that it's not good enough. What? But this is the kind of weird power dynamic in any place of work, really.
And how did you deal with that? With the pressure, like the
The
imposter syndrome?
Right. I have had imposter syndrome and continue to have it every single day, but it drives me too. I looked at her and I just thought, at least I'm not wearing a bandage dress and court shoes. Cut that out of the edit. But I was like, oh, if you want to do that to me, like, I will up my ante. Right? Grit and resilience. You must know about that.
Well, you have it. So you had the column at ELLE magazine, then you got pregnant. What happened after? Like, did
I had a baby. It was so weird.
But did you continue writing the column while you were pregnant?
No, because who wants,
Well-
like in that era, like who wants that? That's really unglamorous. Like what? Having a baby? No. And actually, it's a good point because there was this like huge crashing sense of identity loss. So already when you have your first child, you have this huge like chasm of like, wait, what? Who am I? This was not what? This was not the plan. Who am I? Why am I this? I don't get any of it. And then you lose your column and your identity and blah blah blah. And yeah, it was no, I didn't continue it.
So you went on maternity leave.
I took a year off,
Yeah.
maternity leave. I was going to write a book, lol, because of course that's what you do in maternity leave because it's a holiday. No, it's not.
Well, but eventually the book, we do have a book.
We do have a book.
Fashionably
We do have a
later.
book. But I think I just put myself under the most horrendous pressure. Anyway, and I thought there's only one thing for it because I was old already. I'll have another baby. And then I left ELLE in 2013. And I went freelance. And I genuinely believed that the world would come knocking at my door. Because when you're working for a magazine and you're like at the shows,
Yeah, you probably
you're
met
here, and you're-
met a lot of people.
but it doesn't. Boop. The door goes down. The red rope closes. And the club door closes. The end. And you're no longer relevant because you're only as relevant as the title or the brand that you work for. As painful as it is, that is the best lesson I have ever had.
Well, but then you went freelance. And how did you find the transition from going to like full-time employment to freelancing?
It was awful. It was
Why?
really difficult because, nobody's interested in you when you're freelance.
So you find it, you struggled.
Really struggled. Yeah. But here's the thing.
Because, I mean, from what I recall, I did a bit of research as well. You did freelance for huge corporate fashion houses. So you must have done something right.
I tell you what I did right. I mentored all the young people who came up under me at ELLE. All the interns, all the fashion assistants, I mentored them. I took them under my wing. I protected them from the backlash of various editors, and there was a lot of that bitchiness. I protected them, and unbeknownst to me, because of course I wasn't doing it like to think, oh, you know, my future-proof my career. No. And when those young women got into the workplace and then they became the boss, that's when they remembered what I'd done for them. So, like, for example, Kate Blythe, who was the fashion features writer's assistant. I protected her in a meeting. I don't really remember it, but apparently I went up against 20 people. And she gave me a column in Matches. She was like, I will never forget that. And this is the thing. Be nice to people. Fight people's corner. There's no need to be a fashion cliche at all. So it was difficult. But then I went to work at Net-a-Porter for a little bit, which was great. I worked for a magazine called Porter, which was a print edition at the time.
Do they still publish it?
They do an online edition.
Okay.
And from there, and I was like, no, I want a full-time job again. And so I got the Harrods job. Big job, huge.
And that's when I met you, which, by the
That's
way,
when you
like,
met
it was
me.
quite, I mean, incredible to be like, okay, I crashed the Victoria's Beckham party. I was a student. I was a student. I was working part-time for the university and doing an internship for a fashion magazine. Probably that's what I told you. I told you that I work for this magazine. Well, actually,
you did tell me you
yeah,
worked for a fashion magazine.
something like that, which basically I was working for them. I didn't get paid, but I was working for them.
I mean, you're wearing this outfit, so who cares where you worked, quite frankly.
Yeah, CEO attitude, yeah. And for me, it was quite like, wow, you know, like, editorial fashion director at Harrods. Like, I should have asked you, do you have a job for me? I should have thought about it.
You should have. Then you went to
Right?
work for Matches. Shame on you. I mean,
Let's not go.
You know,
Yeah.
the big titles are ultimately meaningless.
So we are 2019, and 2020 was quite a breaking point for everyone, but I will say a little bit more for you, because that's when your personal life took over.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened then?
Well, there was a huge nervous breakdown due to a marriage that I had convinced my fairy tale version of my younger self that was the right thing to do. And I thought that by conforming to societal norms, let's say, you get married and you have children, and you live in a nice house on the edge of a park in a nice, postcode. And when I realized that I wasn't that person, but I had two children, who obviously are my life, but this bugaboo pushing, vapid existence just wasn't me. It was as if somebody just switched in my head and was just like, leave. And I did.
So we are in 2020. Everyone is facing a pandemic. You broke up with your husband. How did you manage to keep working?
I didn't. It was a catastrophe. I didn't.
And did you say to yourself, okay, I need some time for myself?
No,
or?
I was fired. Let's just be honest, right? So I was fired.
Which, by the way, according to, one of the greatest fashion legends,
Yes.
I'm sure you know that Anna
I
Win-
do.
about-
All the cool girls get fired.
No, that's a book that I have to read, but Anna Wintour said we should get fired at least once in our life. So
That's once ticked off. I was fired. It was really bad.
But
it was really bad because I moved into a rental, not any old rental, like a muse house that looked like MTV Cribs. It was ridiculous. It was like so gangster. And I was like, oh, great. And then I lost my job and I couldn't afford the rent. And so I ended up moving to this other rental and blah, blah, blah. But then there was this kind of like domino effect of like
Would you say
disaster.
that if your personal life was in a better place, will you still be at Harrods or not? Or that was like also another challenge on its own?
That is a good question, because I think people who work for big corporations such as Harrods and other corps are part of the culture of that corp, and that many of them have been there for a long time. And when brands say they want change, a new direction, they often don't, they being like one person in marketing, they don't mean it. They don't need it, they don't want it, and they don't know how to do it. But actually, let's just go back to this tumultuous time after leaving my job, being fired from Harrods. What happened afterwards, I was given a column in the Telegraph.
Yeah,
don't judge me. Sorry about the Telegraph.
No,
but it was a column. It was a dating column.
That's why I think it's incredible how you always manage to reinvent yourself.
I reinvented myself, but I accidentally went on a website called toyboywarehouse.com.
Oh.
And I met a much younger lover. If you've ever heard of toyboywarehouse.com, just delete it from your browser, because really, like, honestly, I'm still reliving that shit now. Yeah. So I just thought, oh, yeah, I'm newly divorced. I've lost my job. Let's go on Toyboy Warehouse to really shake things up. And yeah, I met a really hot, gorgeous young stylist. Beautiful, gorgeous. But that whole era of my, leaving a marriage, leaving Harrods, being fired, reinventing myself has actually brought me to the point where I am today, which is I quit writing and I quit journalism. And I'm an artist. I'm a visual artist, and I've gone back to painting.
But at the same time, before we go, we will return to the painting, by the way. So also your social media was affected because your content has changed. And you said that you reached a point when you had two options. You could leave Instagram or tell the truth. And that's what you did.
I did, yeah.
So your content, you said that you could not pretend anymore to be tease.
No.
Fashion, which, by the way, I feel like fashion will always be a part of you. I mean, whether you want it or not.
No, fashion saved me, absolutely. It's my armor.
So tell me about the content, changing your content on social media.
I was posting pictures of myself wearing outfits and being at blah, blah place, and then going home unable to eat or breathe because I was in the middle of the most horrific breakup of my own doing and dealing with two very upset children. And yet my public social media persona was just like, everything's fine.
You know that I actually remember, it's not on your Instagram anymore, something, but I do remember, I think it was September 2019.
I have unarchived a lot of stuff. Okay. I did it yesterday because yeah.
But I remember, like, I don't know, I think you were on not on a holiday, but like it was just a work trip or something like that, saying that sometimes it's just so nice to wear a nice dress to escape a bit from your reality.
It's so true.
And I was like, I really appreciated your honesty. I think it was amazing. Already back then, before like the breaking point.
I think we all feel like that, right?
So you started writing the column about your...
my dating fiascos,
your dating life.
It was awful, actually, writing. Oh, God.
And then you were
can
also...
Can I edit this? No, I can't. Writing for the Telegraph was great, and I really appreciate the opportunity and the exposure. However, the comments were so vicious that halfway through... So my column launched on a Saturday morning. Big spread, photograph, blah, blah, blah. And then by lunchtime, they'd have to disable the comments because they were so vile. Like, like violent and threatening, like horrendous. And I really got an insight into, oh my God, I'm clickbait. I am clickbait, which just felt awful. And then before you know it, you're like, oh God, what do I write? Because it's a weekly column. I mean, there aren't enough dating apps to sustain a weekly dating column. I tried them all. And, you're like, what more do you want from me? Oh, we just need it more this, so we need it more that. And that is the problem. When you are a persona for sale, by the way, you're not getting paid that much because journalism doesn't pay that much. And yet you are fresh meat for everyone to come along and have a peck at.
And you were also labeled, I think it was
Divorce influencer.
Which, by the way, you were not happy because you were like, I'm not suggesting...
Influencing people to get divorced.
Actually, yeah. But you started also working with brands, like as a content creator. And you were saying that not all... So it was very difficult for you to come up with the kind of like right content because the previous glossy content didn't work with the new audience.
That's social media. So
Yeah.
you can post something and lose 500 followers, and you can post something else that's the opposite and still lose
And
500 followers. And you could gain 500 and you can lose them all in a day. And actually, none of it matters. That is... But we sort of, as people who are very visual, people who've been brought up to within the structure of this business, to believe, we understand the importance of a brand identity. And to kind of flip-flop between authenticity and the gloss is very difficult. It's a very tricky line to walk. And so I always err on the side of authenticity, which sometimes is ugly.
But it's real. Anyway, from the column, we arrive at the book.
Oh yeah, the book.
The book, which I think I can say that it's a best-selling book.
Mm-hmm.
How was writing the book?
It was not great. Writing the book was not great. It was like reliving. It's a memoir, and it's about class really, and it's about all kinds of gritty, really like difficult subjects.
I feel like there is a lot of fashion as well.
There is a lot of fashion.
Humor,
there is.
and
there is.
Real life.
So it's as sad as it is. It's as funny.
Yeah, I think I told you earlier that what I really love is that I will never be able to understand your reality completely, but I do connect with your humanity and your honesty, which is amazing. And like, trust me, I will not be here today if it wasn't for you. Because no, it's true. I know it's a lot, but yeah, I love when you're so real on social media. And I know that it's not easy, but at the same time, it's incredible that other people can, maybe they are going through the same thing, and you feel.
It's my mission to help others, which sounds really churlish and easy to say, but it is. It's my mission to help others, whoever you are, because our stories are all different and whatever, but we all need stories of hope and kindness and joy.
After the book, you also went back to art. How is that? Do you feel like you're a storyteller, so do you feel like you communicate with writing, like would you say that it's just the same process but with a different medium?
That's also a good question, because actually it's the same process, but it's far more vulnerable. It makes me feel far more vulnerable. It's like a proper visual insight to my soul. Whereas this is so exposing, like too exposing. My publishers didn't do a good job on that. They should have edited this. But to put a painting or a piece of work or a piece of sculpture out there is way more exposing. And 7 years ago, when I was thinking to leave my marriage, I started back at adult education, and it was the most unglamorous thing ever. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to take a Sassy course at Central St. Martin's or London College of Fashion. No, I went to City Lit in Holborn. I took some really basic classes because although I went to art school in 1992 in Manchester, I didn't. I went to the Hacienda, which was the nightclub. And I barely showed up at art school, so I didn't know about the colour, blah, blah, the perspective. So I went back and I learned it. It felt like a now or never moment, and that is definitely an age thing. Definitely an age thing. I was 2 months before turning 51, and I was like, actually, it's now or never. So I didn't take on another contract. I joined an art school called Terps Banana, which is an amazing Peckham-based art school that I started in September, and I'm with my artist community and cohort, and I have learned so much in the last 2 months. I think if we can embrace with vigor, curiosity, and just an appetite to keep learning, we'll always stay young.
And the final question, now that you found your voice, where would you like to be invited next? Or which...
I would like to be invited to Frieze Art Fair. That would be nice. Where would I like to be invited to? Do you know what? The art world, I hear, is even worse than the fashion world. I have decided to not even go there.
Every time I go to Frieze, I feel like it's a fashion show.
I know.
And I'm like, wow, there is more fashion here than, during Fashion Week.
Yeah.
And it's more like people are more unique. If I'm allowed to say.
The kind of guest listy thing there
is
like
absolutely.
A thing
it's
to behold. Do you know what? I am actually really, really delighted in just sort of like being kind of consumed by this artist cohort in this, I don't know if you know Terps Banana, but it's in one of those tower blocks in Peckham. You'd have to take a bus from Elephant and Castle. And I've met the most amazing people. And to go to their openings, lots of them are in East London. Those are the invitations I want. I don't need the exclusivity of the glamour of my old life. Sorry. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I told you, there will always be a good amount of glamour when it comes to you.
Yeah.
To wrap things up, I just want to say thank you for accepting my invitation.
You're so welcome. You're such a great human.
And so many people that I have to thank, like, where do I start? Mirek here for helping me with the technical side of it, which is like very overwhelming for me. Romain, who is not here tonight, they helped me. Well, actually, they created the visual trailer for the podcast. Gustav for the sound design, Riley for the graphic design, and, Camille and James for trusting my vision to and allow me to launch the podcast here at the Roses of Elagabalus in Dalston. You all have to come here.
Bravo!
So whether you're on the list, crashing the gate, or building your own entrance, this is your invite to join the party.